King Henry V. Enter chorus. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention won, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry, like himself, assume the port of Mars, too, and at his heels. Chapter 50, east in like hounds should famine, sword and fire. Chapter 100, rouch for employment, but pardon gentles all, the flat unraised spirit that hath dared on this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold three the vasty fields of France, or may we cram upon this little stage for the very casks 5 that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in little place 1,000,000, and let us ciphers to this great accompt on your imaginary forces 6 work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined 2 mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. 7. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Chapter 1, Into 1,000 parts divide one man. 8. And make imaginary puissance. 9. For tease your thoughts that now must deck our kings. Chapter 100, awry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years. Chapter 1, Into an hourglass, for the which supply admit me chorus to this history, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear, kindly to judge our play. Exit. Act 1. Scene 1, the painted chamber in the Royal Palace at Westminster. Frequent reference is made in the chronicles to the painted chamber, as the room wherein Henry V held his councils. Trumpets sound. Hen, where is my gracious Lord of Canterbury? Exe, not here in presence. Hen, send for him, good uncle. Exeter beckons to a herald who goes off LH. West, shall we call in the ambassador, my liege? Hen, not yet, my cousin, we would be resolved, before we hear him, of some things of weight that task won our thoughts concerning us in France. Re-enter herald with the Archbishop of Canterbury 2 and Bishop of Ely. 3 LH, the bishops cross to RC. Chapter 100, Ant, heaven and its angels guard your sacred throne, and make you long become it. Hen, sure we thank you. Chapter 1000, why, learned Lord, we pray you to proceed, and justly and religiously unfold why the law salique that they have in France, or should not bar us in our claim. And heaven forbid, my dear and faithful Lord, that you should fashion, rest 4 or bow your reading 5, or nicely charge your understanding soul 6, with opening titles miscreate 7, whose right suits not in native colours with the truth. For heaven doth know how many now in health shall drop their blood in approbation. 8. Of what your reverence shall incite us to, therefore take heed how you impawn our person. 9. How you awake the sleeping sword of war, we charge you in the name of heaven, take heed. Under this conjuration speak, my lord. Chapter 100, Ant, then hear me, gracious sovereign, and you peers, that owe your lives, your faith and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness claim to France, but this which they produce from Pharamond. No woman shall succeed in Salique land, which Salique land the French unjustly glows. 10. To be the realm of France and Pharamond, the founder of this law and female bar. Yet their own authors faithfully affirm that the land Salique lies in Germany, between the floods of Saale and of Elbe, where Charles the Great, having subdued the Saxons, there left behind and settled certain French, nor did the French possess the Salic land until 421 years after defunction of King Pharamond. Chapter 549. Why suppose the founder of this law? Besides, their writers say, King Pepin which deposed Childeric. Chapter 999. Hold in right and title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this day. Howbeit they would hold up this Salic law, to bar your highness claiming from the female, and rather choose to hide them in a net, than amply to imbear their crooked titles 11, usurped from you and your progenitors. Hen, may I with right and conscience make this claim. Chapter 100. Ant, the sin upon my head, dread sovereign. For in the book of Numbers is it writ, when the son dies let the inheritance. Chapter 500. Ascend unto the daughter, gracious Lord. Stand for your own, unwind your bloody flag. Chapter 50. Ook back unto your mighty ancestors. Go, my dread lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb, from whom you claim, invoke his warlike spirit, and your great-uncle's, Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy. Chapter 1000. Aching defeat on the full power of France, whiles his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lion's whelp forage in blood of French nobility. 12. Ely, awake remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm renew their feats. You are their heir, you sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renowned them runs in your veins, and my thrice puissant liege. Chapter 1. S. In the very May morn of his youth, ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises. Exc. Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth. Chapter 500. O all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood. West, they know your grace hath cause and means and might. So hath your highness, 13 never king of England, had nobles richer and more loyal subjects, whose hearts have left their bodies here in England, and lie pavilioned in the fields of France. Chapter 100. Ant, oh let their bodies follow, my dear liege, with blood and sword and fire to win your right. Chapter 1. An aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum, as never did the clergy at one time bring in to any of your ancestors. Hen, we must not only arm to invade the French, but lay down our proportions to defend against the Scot who will make road upon us with all advantages. Chapter 100. Ant, they of those marches 14, gracious sovereign, shall be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering borderers. Therefore to France, my liege. Chapter 1003. Your happy England into 4, whereof take you 1/4 into France, and you withal shall make all Gallia shake. Chapter 1. F we with thrice that power left at home. Chapter 100. Not defend our own door from the dog. Chapter 50. Let us be worried and our nation lose the name of hardiness and policy. Hen, call in the messengers sent from the Dauphin. Exit herald with lords LH. Now are we well resolved, and by heaven's help, and yours the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our oar, or break it all to pieces. Re-enter herald and lords LH with the ambassador of France, French bishops, gentlemen and attendants carrying a treasure chest, LH. Now are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin Dauphin, for we hear your greeting is from him, not from the king. May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dauphin's meaning and our embassy? Hen, we are no tyrant but a Christian king. Therefore with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind. Thus then in few 15, Your Highness lately sending into France, Chapter 999, claims some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. Chapter 1, in answer of which claim the Prince our master says that you savour too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard 16. You cannot revel into dukedoms there. He therefore sends you, meeter for your spirit, this ton of treasure, and in lieu of this, Chapter 500, Eschers you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speaks. Hen what treasure, uncle? Exe opening the chest, tennis balls, my liege. Hen, we are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have matched our rackets to these bowls, we will in France by heaven's grace play a set. Shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. And we understand him well, how he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of the. But tell thee, Dauphin, I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my soul of greatness, when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For I will rise there with so full a glory, that I will dazzle all the eyes of France. Yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us. But this lies all within the will of heaven, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you the Dauphin I am coming on, to venge me as I may, and to put forth Chapter 1000, why rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin his jest will savour but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Chapter 100, envy them with safe conduct, fare you well. Exeunt ambassador and attendants LH. Exe, this was a merry message. Hen, we hope to make the sender blush at it. The king rises. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furtherance to our expedition. For we have now no thought in us but France, save those to heaven that run before our business. Therefore let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and all things thought upon, that may with reasonable swiftness add. Chapter 1000, or feathers to our wings for heaven before. We'll chide this Dauphin at his father's door. The characters group round the king. Trumpets sound. Scene 2, EASTCHAP London. Enter Bardolph, Nym, Pistol, Mrs. Quickly, and boy E. Quick, Prithee, honey sweet husband, let me bring thee to Staines 17. Pist, no, for my manly heart doth yearn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse thy vaunting veins. Boy, bristle thy courage up, for Falstaff he is dead, and we must yearn therefore. Bard, would I were with him wheresoe'er he is. Quick, sure he's in Arthur's bosom 18. If ever man went to Arthur's bosom, a made a finer end 19 and went away, and it had been any Christum child. 20, a parted even just between 12 and 1, e'en at turning o' the tide. 21, for after I saw him fumble with the sheets 22 and play with flowers, and smile upon his fingers' ends, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was as sharp as a pen, and a babbled of green fields. How now, Sir John, quoth I, what man be of good cheer? So a cried out, Heaven, 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 3 or 4 times. Now I to comfort him bid him a should not think of heaven. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So a bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand into the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. Nym, they say he cried out of sack. Quick, I that a did. Bard, and of women's. Quick, nay, that a did not. Boy, yes, that a did, and said they were devils incarnate. Quick, crosses LC a could never abide carnation. 23, 'twas a colour he never liked. Boy, do you not remember? I saw a flea stick upon Bardolph's nose, and said it was a black soul burning in hell fire. Bard, well, the fuel is gone that maintained that fire. That's all the riches I got in his service. Nim, shall we shog off? 24 The king will be gone from Southampton. Pissed, come, let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Chapter 50, Ook to my chattels and my movables. Chapter 50, Et senses rule. 25 The word is pitch and pay. 26. Trust none. For oaths are straws, men's faiths are wafer cakes. And holdfast is the only dog. 27 My duck. Therefore Cavido be thy counsellor. 28. Go clear thy crystals. 29 Yoke fellows in arms. Chapter 100 Ross is LH. Chapter 50 Et us to France like horse leeches, my boys. To suck, the very blood to suck. Chapter 100 Ross is RH. Boy, and that is but unwholesome food, they say. Pit, touch her soft mouth and march. Bard, farewell, hostess. Kissing her. Nim, I cannot kiss, that is the humour of it, but adieu. Pissed, let housewifery appear, keep close, I thee command. Quick, farewell, adieu. Exeunt Bardolph, Pistol, Nim, RH, and Dame quickly, LH. Boy, as young as I am, I have observed these 3 swashers. I am boy to them all 3, but all they 3, though they would serve me, could not be a man to me, for indeed 3 such antics do not amount to a man. For Bardolph, he is white-livered and red-faced, by the means whereof a faces it out but fights not. For Pistol, he hath a killing tongue and a quiet sword, by the means whereof a breaks words and keeps whole weapons. For Nim, he hath heard that men of few words are the best men, and therefore he scorns to say his prayers, lest a should be thought a coward. But his few bad words are matched with as few good deeds, for a never broke any man's head but his own, and that was against a post when he was drunk. They will steal anything and call it purchase. They would have me as familiar with men's pockets as their gloves or their handkerchiefs, which makes much against my manhood if I should take from another's pocket to put into mine, for it is plain pocketing up of wrongs. I must leave them and seek some better service. Their villainy goes against my weak stomach, and therefore I must cast it up. Chapter 501 Stant March Heard, Exit Boy RH. End of first ACT. Historical note to chorus ACT first. Should famine, sword and fire. Chapter 100 Rouch for employment. Holinshed states that when the people of Rouen petitioned Henry V, the king replied that the goddess of battle called Bellona had 3 handmaidens, ever of necessity attending upon her, as blood, fire and famine. These are probably the dogs of war mentioned in Julius Caesar. Historical notes to ACT first. King Henry on his throne. King Henry V was born at Monmouth August 9, 1388, from which place he took his surname. He was the eldest son of Henry Bolingbroke, Earl of Derby, afterwards Duke of Hereford, who was banished by King Richard II, and after that monarch's deposition was made King of England. At 11 years of age Henry V was a student at Queen's College, Oxford, under the tuition of his half-uncle Henry Beaufort, Chancellor of that university. Richard II took the young Henry with him in his expedition to Ireland, and caused him to be imprisoned in the castle of Trim, but when his father, the Duke of Hereford, deposed the king and obtained the crown, he was created Prince of Wales and Duke of Cornwall. Chapter 1 In 1403 the prince was engaged at the Battle of Shrewsbury, where the famous Hotspur was slain, and there wounded in the face by an arrow. History states that Prince Henry became the companion of rioters and disorderly persons, and indulged in a course of life quite unworthy of his high station. There is a tradition that, under the influence of wine, he assisted his associates in robbing passengers on the highway. His being confined in prison for striking the Chief Justice, Sir William Gascoigne, is well known. These excesses gave great uneasiness and annoyance to the king, his father, who dismissed the prince from the office of President of his Privy Council, and appointed in his stead his second son, Thomas, Duke of Clarence. Henry was crowned King of England on the 9th April, 1413, we read in Stowe. After his coronation, King Henry called unto him all those young lords and gentlemen 21 who were the followers of his young acts, to every one of whom he gave rich gifts, and then commanded that as many as would change their manners, as he intended to do, should abide with him at court. And to all that would persevere in their former like conversation, he gave express commandment, upon pain of their heads, never after that day to come in his presence. This heroic king fought and won the celebrated Battle of Agincourt, on the 25th October, 1415, married the Princess Catherine, daughter of Charles VI of France and Isabella of Bavaria, his queen, in the year 1420, and died at Vincennes near Paris in the midst of his military glory, August 31st, 1422, in the 34th year of his age, and the 10th of his reign, leaving an infant son, who succeeded to the throne under the title of Henry VI. The famous Whittington was for the third time Lord Mayor of London in this reign. Thomas Chaucer, son of the great poet, was Speaker of the House of Commons, which granted the supplies to the king for his invasion of France. Bedford, John, Duke of Bedford, was the third son of King Henry IV, and his brother Henry V left to him the regency of France. He died in the year 1435. This duke was accounted one of the best generals of the royal race of Plantagenet. King Louis XI, being counselled by certain envious persons to deface his tomb, used these indeed princely words: "What honour shall it be to us or you to break this monument, and to pull out of the ground the bones of him, whom in his lifetime neither my father nor your progenitors with all their puissance were once able to make fly a foot backward, who by his strength, policy, and wit kept them all out of the principal dominions of France, and out of this noble duchy of Normandy. Wherefore I say first, God save his soul, and let his body now lie in rest, which when he was alive would have disquieted the proudest of us all. And for his tomb, I assure you, it is not so worthy or convenient as his honour and acts have deserved." V.D. Sandford's History of the Kings of England. Gloucester, Humphrey, Duke of Gloucester, was the fourth son of King Henry IV, and on the death of his brother Henry V, became regent of England. It is generally supposed he was strangled. His death took place in the year 1446. Exeter. Shakespeare is a little too early in giving Thomas Beaufort the title of Duke of Exeter, for when Harfleur was taken and he was appointed governor of the town, he was only Earl of Dorset. He was not made Duke of Exeter till the year after the Battle of Agincourt, November 14, 1416. Exeter was half-brother to King Henry IV, being one of the sons of John of Gaunt, by Catherine Swynford. Archbishop of Canterbury. The Archbishop's speech in this scene, explaining King Henry's title to the crown of France, is closely copied from Holinshed's Chronicle. About the middle of the year 1414, Henry V, influenced by the persuasions of Chicheley, Archbishop of Canterbury, by the 22 dying injunction of his royal father, not to allow the kingdom to remain long at peace, or more probably by those feelings of ambition, which were no less natural to his age and character than consonant with the manners of the time in which he lived, resolved to assert that claim to the crown of France which his great-grandfather, King Edward III, had urged with such confidence and success. Nicholas's History of the Battle of Agincourt. The law Salique. According to this law no woman was permitted to govern or be a queen in her own right. The title only was allowed to the wife of the monarch. This law was imported from Germany by the warlike Franks. Tennis balls, my liege. Some contemporary historians affirm that the Dauphin sent Henry the contemptuous present, which has been imputed to him, intimating that such implements of play were better adapted to his dissolute character than the instruments of war, while others are silent on the subject. The circumstance of Henry's offering to meet his enemy in single combat affords some support to the statement that he was influenced by those personal feelings of revenge to which the Dauphin's conduct would undoubtedly have given birth. Enter Bardolph, Nym, Pistol, Mrs. Quickly, and Boy. These followers of Falstaff figured conspicuously through the two parts of Shakespeare's Henry IV. Pistol is a swaggering, pompous braggadocio, Nym a boaster and a coward, and Bardolph a liar, thief, and coward, who has no wit but in his nose. Enter Chorus. Chapter 100. Ho, now all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armourers, and honour-s thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirror of all Christian kings, with winged heels as English Mercuries. For now sits expectation in the air. O England, model to thy inward greatness. Chapter 51. Key little body with a mighty heart. What mightst thou do, that honour would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural. But see thy fault, France hath in thee found out. A nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills one with treacherous crowns, and 3 corrupted men. 1 Richard Earl of Cambridge, 2 and the 2nd. Henry Lord Scrope of Masham, 3 and the 3rd. Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France 4 O guilt indeed. Chapter 100, Armed conspiracy with fearful France, and by their hands this grace of kings 5 must die. If hell and treason hold their promises, ere he take ship for France and in Southampton. The back scene opens and discovers a tableau, representing the 3 conspirators receiving the bribe from the emissaries of France. Chapter 51, Endure your patience on and well digest the abuse of distance, while we force a play 6. The sum is paid, the traitors are agreed. The king is set from London, and the scene. Chapter 1, now transported gentles to Southampton. There is the playhouse now, there must you sit. And thence to France shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow seas, to give you gentle pass, for if we may, will not offend one stomach 7 with our play. But till the king come forth, and not till then 8, unto Southampton do we shift our scene. Exit. Act 2. Scene 1, Council Chamber in Southampton Castle. Exeter, Bedford and Westmoreland discovered. Bed, 'fore heaven his grace is bold to trust these traitors. They shall be apprehended by and by. West, how smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosoms sat. Chapter 100, Roamed with faith and constant loyalty. Bed, the king hath note of all that they intend, by interception which they dream not of. Nay, but the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath cloyed and gracked with princely favours, that he should for a foreign purse so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery. Chapter 501, Stant trumpets sound, enter King Henry, Scrope, Cambridge, Grey, Lords and attendants UELH. K. Hen, now sits the wind fair and we will aboard. Chapter 1000, Why Lord of Cambridge and my kind Lord of Masham? And you, my gentle knight, give me your thoughts. Think you not that the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France? Scrope, no doubt, my liege, if each man do his best. K. Hen, I doubt not that, since we are well persuaded, we carry not a heart with us from hence, that grows not in a fair consent with ours one, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us. Chapter 100, A.M. Never was monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government. Grey, even those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey, and do serve you with hearts create too of duty and of zeal. Hen, we therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hand sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness. Uncle of Exeter are enlarged the man committed yesterday, that railed against our person, we consider. Chapter 1, Tea was excess of wine that set him on, and on his more advice 3 we pardon him. Scrope, that's mercy but too much security. Chapter 50, Let him be punished, sovereign, lest example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind. Hen, oh, let us yet be merciful. Chapter 100, A.M. So may your highness and yet punish too. Grey, sir, you show great mercy if you give him life, after the taste of much correction. Hen, alas, you're too much love and care of me are heavy orisons gainst this poor wretch, for Chapter 1, F. Little faults proceeding on distemper 5 shall not be winked at, how shall we stretch our eye 6? when capital crimes, chewed, swallowed, and digested, appear before us, will yet enlarge that man. Though Cambridge, Scrope, and Grey, in their dear care and tender preservation of our person, would have him punished, and now to our French causes all take their places at council table, who are the late commissioners. 7. Chapter 100. Mr. of Table I won, my lord. Your Highness bade me ask for it today. Scrope R of Table, so did you me, my liege. Grey R of Table, and me, my royal sovereign. K. Hen, then Richard Earl of Cambridge, there is yours. There yours, Lord Scrope of Masham, and Sir Knight Grey of Northumberland, this same is yours. Read them, and know I know your worthiness. Chapter 1000. Why Lord of Westmoreland and Uncle Exeter. Chapter 50 of Table. We will aboard tonight. Conspirators start from their places. Why, how now, gentlemen? What see you in those papers that you lose? So much complexion, look ye how they change. Their cheeks are paper, why what read you there? That hath so cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance. Chapter 100, A.M. Chapter 1. Do confess my fault, and do submit me to your Highness' mercy. Falling on his knees. Grey's Scrope, to which we all appeal, kneeling. K. Hen rising, all the lords rise with the king. The mercy that was quick ate in us but late, by your own counsel is suppressed and killed. You must not dare for shame to talk of mercy. See you, my princes and my noble peers, these English monsters, my Lord of Cambridge here. You know how apt our love was to accord, to furnish him with all appurtenance belonging to his honour, and this man hath for a few light crowns lightly conspired, and sworn unto the practices of France, to kill us here in Hampton, to the which this night no less for bounty bound to us than Cambridge's hath likewise sworn. But oh, what shall I say to thee, Lord Scrope, thou cruel? Chapter 1. Ungrateful, savage, and inhuman creature, thou that didst bear the key of all my counsels, that knewst the very bottom of my soul, that almost mightst have coined me into gold. Chapter 1000. It be possible that foreign hire. Chapter 100. Would out of the extract one spark of evil, that might annoy my finger. 'Tis so strange, that though the truth of it stands off as gross 9, as black from white 10, my eye will scarcely see it. For this revolt of thine, methinks, is like another fall of man. Their faults are open. Arrest them to the answer of the law. Exeter goes to door UELH and calls on the guard, and heaven acquit them of their practices. EXE comes down. RC I arrest thee of high treason, by the name of Richard Earl of Cambridge. Chapter 1. Arrest thee of high treason, by the name of Henry Lord Scrope of Masham. Chapter 1. Arrest thee of high treason, by the name of Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland. Scrope R. kneeling, our purposes heaven justly hath discovered, and I repent my fault more than my deaths. Chapter 100. A.M. R. kneeling, for me the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive, the sooner to effect what I intended. But heaven be thanked for prevention, which I in sufferance heartily will rejoice. 11. Beseeching heaven and you to pardon me. Grey R. kneeling, never did faithful subject more rejoice at the discovery of most dangerous treason than I do at this hour joy o'er myself, prevented from a damned enterprise. Chapter 1000. Why fault but not my body pardon sovereign? K. Hen, heaven quit you in its mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death. wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression and contempt, and his whole kingdom into desolation. Touching our person seek we no revenge, but we our kingdom's safety must so tender 12, whose ruin you 3 sought, that to her laws we do deliver you, get you therefore hence, poor miserable wretches, to your death, the taste whereof heaven of its mercy give you, patience to endure and true repentance, of all your dear offences, 13 bear them hence. Chapter 100, Anspirators rise and exeunt guarded with Exeter. Now lords, for France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as us like glorious. We doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since heaven so graciously hath brought to light this dangerous treason lurking in our way. Then forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance 14 into the hand of heaven, putting it straight in expedition. Chapter 100, Herely to see the signs of war advance. No king of England, if not king of France. Exeunt UELH. Scene 2, France, a room in the French king's palace. Trumpets sound. Enter the French king 15 attended, the Dauphin, the Duke of Burgundy, the Constable and others. LH. Fr. King, thus come the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it us concerns 16, to answer royally in our defences. Therefore the Dukes of Berry and of Bretagne, of Brabant and of Orleans shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch, to line and new repair our towns of war, with men of courage and with means defendant. Chapter 500, O. Chapter 1000, Why most redoubted father. Chapter 1, T is most meet we arm us gainst the foe, and let us do it with no show of fear. No, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with a Whitsun morris dance. For my good liege she is so idly kinged, her sceptre so fantastically borne, by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not. Chapter 100, Ons. O peace, Prince Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. With what great state he heard our embassy, how well supplied with noble counsellors, how modest in exception 17, and withal how terrible in constant resolution, and you shall find his vanities forespent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus. Chapter 100, Overing discretion with a coat of folly. Chapter 500, Oh, well, 'tis not so, my Lord High Constable. But though we think it so, it is no matter. Chapter 1, In cases of defence 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems, so the proportions of defence are filled. Fr. King, think we King Harry strong, and princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody strain 18, that haunted us 19 in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shape, when Cressy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captived by the hand of that black name, Edward Black Prince of Wales, whiles that his mountain sire, on mountain standing, up in the air crowned with the golden sun, 20, saw his heroical seed, and smilled to see him. Chapter 1000, Angle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by heaven and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is a stem of that victorious stock, and let us fear the native mightiness and fate of him. 21. Enter Montje, 22 LH, and kneels see to the king. Chapter 1000, Aunt, Ambassadors from Henry King of England. Chapter 500, O crave admittance to your majesty. Fr. King will give them present audience. Montje rises from his knee. Go and bring them. Exeunt Montje and certain lords LH. You see this chase is hotly followed, friends. Chapter 500. Oh, turn head and stop pursuit for coward dogs. Chapter 1000. Asked spend their mouths 23 when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short, and let them know of what a monarchy you are the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting. French king takes his seat on throne. Re-enter Montje, lords with Exeter and train LH. Fr's king. From our brother England. Exe from him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you, in the awful name of heaven, that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, long to him and to his heirs, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honours that pertain, by custom and the ordinance of times, unto the crown of France, that you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim, picked from the wormholes of long-vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion racked. He sends you this most memorable line 24, gives a paper to Montje, who delivers it kneeling to the king. Chapter 1. In every branch truly demonstrative, willing you overlook this pedigree, and when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger, Fr. King, or else what follows? Exe bloody constraint, for if you hide the crown, even in your hearts there will he rake for it. Therefore in fierce tempest is he coming. Chapter 1. In thunder and in earthquake like a Jove, that if requiring fail he will compel. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message. Unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting too. Fr. King, for us we will consider of this further. Tomorrow shall you bear our full intent back to our brother England. Chapter 1000. Montje rises and retires to R. Chapter 500. O R of throne for the Dauphin. Chapter 1. Stand here for him, what to him from England? Exe scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, and if your father's highness. Chapter 500. O not in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty. He'll call you to so hot an answer for it, that caves and wamby voltages of France shall chide your trespass 25 and return your mock. Chapter 1. In second accent of his ordinance. Chapter 500. O say if my father render fair reply. Chapter 1. T is against my will, for I desire nothing but odds with England, to that end, as matching to his youth and vanity. Chapter 1. Did present him with those Paris bowls. Exe he'll make your Paris Louvre shake for it. And be assured you'll find a difference between the promise of his greener days and these he masters now he weighs time, even to the utmost grain, which you shall read 26. Chapter 1. In your own losses if he stay in France. Fr. King, tomorrow shall you know our mind at full. Exe, dispatch us with all speed lest that our king. Chapter 100. Hear himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already. Fr. King, you shall be soon dispatched with fair conditions. Chapter 1000. Montje crosses to the English party. A night is but small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence. English party exit, with Montjoy and others, LH French lords group round the king. Trumpets sound. End of ACT-SECON. Historical notes to chorus, ACT second. Ayes. These corrupted men. 1. Richard Earl of Cambridge, and the second, Henry Lord Scrope of Masham, and the third, Sir Thomas Grey Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France, oh guilt indeed. Chapter 100, Armed Conspiracy with Fearful France. Historical notes to ACT second. The man that was his bedfellow, so Holinshed, the said Lord Scrope was in such favour with the king, that he admitted him sometimes to be his bedfellow. The familiar appellation of bedfellow, which appears strange to us, was common among the ancient nobility. There is a letter from the 6th Earl of Northumberland, still preserved in the collection of the present Duke, addressed to his beloved cousin Thomas Arundel, and C., which begins bedfellow after my most hasty recommendation. Stevens. This unseemly custom continued common till the middle of the last century, if not later. Cromwell obtained much of his intelligence during the civil wars from the mean men with whom he slept. Malone. After the Battle of Dreux, 1562, the Prince of Condé slept in the same bed with the Duke of Guise, an anecdote frequently 36 cited, to show the magnanimity of the latter, who slept soundly, though so near his greatest enemy, then his prisoner. Nares. For me, the gold of France did not seduce. Holinshed observes that Richard Earl of Cambridge did not conspire with the Lord Scrope and Thomas Grey for the murdering of King Henry to please the French king, but only to the intent to exalt to the crown his brother-in-law Edmund, Earl of March, as heir to Lionel, Duke of Clarence, after the death of which Earl of March, for divers secret impediments not able to have issue, the Earl of Cambridge was sure that the crown should come to him by his wife, and to his children of her begotten, and therefore, as was thought, he rather confessed himself for need of money to be corrupted by the French king, than he would declare his inward mind, and see, which if it were espied, he saw plainly that the Earl of March should have tasted of the same cup that he had drunk, and what should have come to his own children he merely doubted, and see. 1,000,000 of gold is stated to have been given by France to the conspirators. Historians have, however, generally expressed their utter inability to explain upon what grounds the conspirators built their expectation of success, and unless they had been promised powerful assistance from France, the design seems to have been one of the most absurd and hopeless upon record. The confession of the Earl of Cambridge, and his supplication for mercy in his own handwriting, is in the British Museum. Touching our person seek we no revenge, this speech is taken from Holinshed. Revenge herein touching my person though I seek not, yet for the safeguard of my dear friends, and for due preservation of all sorts, I am by office to cause example to be showed. Get ye hence therefore, you poor miserable wretches, to the receiving of your just reward, wherein God's majesty give you grace of his mercy, and repentance of your heinous offences. Cheerly to see, the signs of war advance. The king went from his castle of Portchester in a small vessel to the sea, and embarking on board his ship called the Trinity, between the ports of Southampton and Portsmouth, he immediately ordered that the sail should be set, to signify his readiness to depart. There were about 1,500 vessels, including about 100 which were left behind. After having passed the Isle of Wight, swans were seen swimming in the midst of the fleet, which in the opinion of all were said to be happy auspices of the undertaking. On the next day, the king entered the mouth of the Seine, and cast anchor before a place called Kydecaus, about 3 miles from Harfleur, where he proposed landing. Nicholas's History of Agincourt. The departure of Henry's army on this occasion, and the separation between those who composed it and their relatives and friends, is thus described by Drayton, who was born in 1563, and died in 1631. There might a man have seen in every street the father bidding farewell to his son, small children kneeling at their father's feet, the wife with her dear husband ne'er had done, brother his brother with adieu to greet, one friend to take leave of another run, the maiden with her best beloved to part, gave him her hand who took away her heart, the nobler use the common rank above, on their curveting coursers mounted fair, one wore his mistress' garter, one her glove, and he a lock of his dear lady's hair, and he her colours whom he did most love, There was not one but did some favour wear, and each one took it on his happy speed, to make it famous by some knightly deed. Enter the French king, the Dauphin, the Duke of Burgundy, the Constable, and others. Charles VI, surnamed the Well-Beloved, was king of France during the most disastrous period of its history. He ascended the throne in 1380, when only 13 years of age. In 1385 he married Isabella of Bavaria, who was equally remarkable for her beauty and her depravity. The unfortunate king was subject to fits of insanity, which lasted for several months at a time. On the 21st October, 1422, 7 years after the Battle of Agincourt, Charles VI ended his unhappy life at the age of 55, having reigned years. Louis the Dauphin was the eldest son of Charles VI. He was born 22nd January, 1396, and died before his father, December 18, 1415, in his 20th year. History says, shortly after the Battle of Agincourt, either for melancholy that he had for the loss or by some sudden disease, Louis Dauphin of Viennois, heir apparent to the French king, departed this life without issue. John, Duke of Burgundy, surnamed the Fearless, succeeded to the dukedom in 1403. He caused the Duke of Orleans to be assassinated in the streets of Paris, and was himself murdered August 28, 1419, on the bridge of Montereau, at an interview with the Dauphin, afterwards Charles VII. John was succeeded by his only son, who bore the title of Philip the Good, Duke of Burgundy. The Constable Charles d'Albret commanded the French army at the Battle of Agincourt, and was slain on the field. Enter chorus. Chapter 100. Hoar, thus with imagined wing our swift scene flies. Chapter 1. En motion of no less celerity than that of thought, suppose that you have seen the well-appointed King one at Hampton Pier embark his royalty, too, and his brave fleet, with silken streamers the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies, and in them behold, upon the hempen tackle ship-boys climbing, hear the shrill whistle, which doth order give to sounds confuzzed, behold the threadened sails, borne with the invisible and creeping wind. Chapter 500. Roar the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, do but think, you stand upon the rivage, three, and behold a city on the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majestical, holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enrich with one appearing hair that will not follow these culled and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work, work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordnance on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock 5 now the devilish cannon touches, alarums and cannon shot off, and down goes all before them. Still be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind. Exit. Scene 100. Hanges 2. The siege of Harfleur. The walls are manned by the French. The English are repulsed from An. Attack on the breach. Alarums, enter King Henry, Exeter, Bedford, Gloucester, and soldiers. R.H. K. Hen, once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. 6. Chapter 1. In peace there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. On, you noble English, whose blood is fet 7 from fathers of war-proof. And you, good yeomans, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base, that hath not noble lustre in your eyes. Chapter 1. See you stand like greyhounds in the slips 8. Straining upon the start, the game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge. Chapter 100. Rye God for Harry, England and St. George. The English charge upon the breach headed by the king. Alarums, the governor of the town appears on the walls with a flag of truce. Hen, how yet resolves the governor of the town. This is the latest parle we will admit. Therefore to our best mercy give yourselves. Or like to men proud of destruction. Chapter 500. Effie us to our worst, for as I am a soldier. A name that in my thoughts becomes me best. Chapter 1. If I begin the battery once again. Chapter 1. Will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur, till in her ashes she lie buried. The gates of mercy shall be all shut up. What say you, will you yield and this avoid? Or guilty in defence be thus destroyed? Gov, our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of succour we entreated nigh, returns us that his powers are not yet ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, dread king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our town, dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible. Soldiers shout. The governor and others come from the town, and kneeling, present to King Henry the keys of the city. Hen, come Uncle Exeter are. Go you and enter Harfleur, there remain, and fortify it strongly gainst the French. Use mercy to them all, for us dear uncle. The winter coming on and sickness growing. Upon our soldiers we'll retire to Calais. Tomorrow for the march are we addressed 10. Chapter 1000. Arch, English army enter the town through the breach. Act 3. Scene 1. France, room in the French king's palace. Trumpets sound. Enter the French king, the Dauphin, Duke of Bourbon, the Constable of France and others LH. Fr. King, 'tis certain he hath passed the river Somme. Chapter 100. On, and if he be not fought withal, my lord. Chapter 50. Let us not live in France, let us quit all, and give our vineyards to a barbarous people. Chapter 500. Oh, by faith and honour, our madams mock at us. They bid us to the English dancing schools, and teach la voltas high one and swift corantos, too, saying our grace is only in our heels, and that we are most lofty runaways. Fr. King, where is Monch the herald, speed him hence. Chapter 50. Let him greet England with our sharp defiance. Up princes, and with spirit of honour edged. Chapter 1000. Or sharper than your swords high to the field. Bar Harry England that sweeps through our land, with pennons 3 painted in the blood of Harfleur. Go down upon him, you have power enough, and in a captive chariot into Rouen. Bring him our prisoner. Chapter 100. Ons. This becomes the great. Sorry am I his numbers are so few, his soldiers sick and famished in their march. For I am sure when he shall see our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement offer us his ransom for. Fr. King, therefore Lord Constable haste on Montje. Chapter 100. Constable crosses to L. And let him say to England that we send, to know what willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rouen. Chapter 500. Oh, not so, I do beseech your majesty. Fr. King, be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now forth, Lord Constable, exit Constable LH and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall. Exeunt LH. Trumpets sound. Scene 2. A view in Picardy. Chapter 501. Stant battle heard. Enter Gower, Lue, meeting Flulen RH. Gow, how now, Captain Flulen, come you from the bridge? Flu, I assure you there is very excellent service committed at the bridge. Gow, is the Duke of Exeter safe? Flu, the Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honour with my soul and my heart and my duty and my life and my livings and my uttermost powers. He is not, heaven be praised and blessed, any hurt in the auld, but keeps the bridge most valiantly with excellent discipline. There is an ensign there at the bridge. I think in my very conscience he is as valiant as Mark Antony, and he is a man of no estimation in the auld, but I did see him do gallant service. Gow, what do you call him? Flu, he is called Ancient Pistol 5. Gow, I know him not. Enter Pistol RH. Flu, do you not know him? Here comes the man. Pist, Captain, I thee beseech to do me favours. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well. Flu, I praise heaven, and I have merited some love at his hands. Pist, Bardolph, a soldier, firm and sound of heart. Of buxom valour 6 hath, by cruel fate, and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel, that goddess blind, that stands upon the rolling restless stone, 7. Flew by your patience, Ancient Pistol. Fortune is painted plinned, with a muffler before her eyes 8 to signify to you that fortune is plinned, and she is painted also with a wheel to signify to you which is the moral of it, that she is turning and inconstant and variations and mutabilities, and her foot, look you, is fixed upon a spherical stone, which rolls and rolls and rolls. In good truth, the poet makes a most excellent description of fortune. Fortune, look you, is an excellent moral. Pist, Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he has stolen a Pix 9 and hanged must a be. A damned death. Chapter 50, Et gallows gape for dog, let man go free. Chapter 100, Ross is to LH. But Exeter hath given the doom of death, for Pix of little price. Therefore go speak, the Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of penny cord and vile reproach. Speak, Captain, for his life, and I will thee requite. Chapter 100, Ross is to RH. Flu, Ancient Pistol, I do partly understand your meaning. Pist, why then rejoice therefore? Flu, certainly, Ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at, for if, look you, he were my brother, I would desire the 47 Duke to use his good pleasure, and put him to executions, for disciplines ought to be used. Pist, Fico, for thy friendship, 10. Flu, it is well. Pist, the fig of Spain, 11. Exit Pistol, RH. Flu, very good. Gow, why this is an errant counterfeit rascal, a cut purse, I remember him now. Flu, I'll assure you, uttered as brave ords at the bridge as you shall see in a summer's day. Gow, why, 'tis a gull, a fool, a rogue, that now and then goes to the wars to grace himself, at his return into London, under the form of a soldier. You must learn to know such slanders of the age 12, or else you may be marvellously mistook. Flu, I tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the auld he is. If I find a hole in his coat, I will tell him my mind. Chapter 1000, Arch Herd. Hark you, the king is coming, and I must speak with him from the bridge. 13. Enter King Henry, Bedford, Gloucester, Westmoreland, lords and soldiers, LHUE. Flu, heaven bless your majesty. Hen, how now, Flulen, cam'st thou from the bridge? Flu, I so please your majesty. The Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge, the French has gone off, look you, and there is gallant and most brave passages. Merry th adversary was have possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire, and the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man. Hen, what men have you lost, Flulen? Flu, the perdition of th adversary hath been very great, very reasonable great. Mary, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man, but one that is like to be executed for robbing a church, one Bardolph, if your majesty knows the man. His face is all buckles, 14, and whelks 15, and knobs and flames of fire, and his lips ploughs at his nose, and it is like a coal of fire, sometimes blue and sometimes red. but his nose is executed, and his fire's out 16. Hen, we would have all such offenders so cut off. Trumpet sounds without R. Enter Montje and attendants RH. Chapter 1000, Aunt uncovers and kneels, you know me by my habit 17. Hen, well then I know thee, what shall I know of thee? Chapter 1000, Aunt my master's mind. Hen, unfold it. Chapter 1000, Aunt, thus says my king, say thou to Harry of England, though we seemed dead we did but sleep. Tell him he shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance 18. Bid him therefore consider of his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested. For our losses his exchequer is too poor, for the effusion of our blood the muster of his kingdom too faint a number, and for our disgrace his own person, kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To this add defiance, and tell him for conclusion he hath betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So far my king and master, so much my office. Hen, what is thy name? I know thy quality. Chapter 1000, Aunt Montje. Hen, thou dost thy office fairly, turn thee back. And tell thy king, I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on to Calais, without impeachment, for to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much, unto an enemy of craft and vantage. Chapter 1000, Why people are with sickness much enfeebled. Chapter 1000, Why numbers lessened and those few I have, almost no better than so many French, who when they were in health I tell thee herald. Chapter 1, Thought upon one pair of English legs. Chapter 999, March 3 Frenchmen, forgive me heaven, that I do brag thus, this your heir of France hath blown that vice in me, I must repent. Go therefore tell thy master here I am. Chapter 1000, Why ransom is this frail and worthless trunk. Chapter 1000, Why army but a weak and sickly guard. Yet heaven before 20, tell him we will come on, though France himself 21, and such another neighbour stand in our way, there's for thy labour Montje. Go bid thy master well advise himself. Chapter 1, If we may pass we will if we be hindered. We shall your tawny ground with your red blood. Chapter 501, Sculler and so Montje fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this. We would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are we say we will not shun it. So tell your master. Chapter 1000, Aunt. Chapter 1 shall deliver so. Chapter 1000, Aunt rises from his knee. Thanks to your highness. Exit Montje with attendants RH. Glow, I hope they will not come upon us now. Hen, we are in heaven's hand, brother, not in theirs. Chapter 1000, Arch to the bridge, it now draws toward night. Beyond the river we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow bid them march away. Exeunt RH. Chapter 1000, Arch. End of ACT-THIR. Historical notes to ACT 3rd. Come you from the bridge? After Henry had passed the Somme, Titus Livius asserts that the king, having been informed of a river which must be crossed, over which was a bridge, and that his progress depended in a great degree upon securing possession of it, dispatched some part of his forces to defend it from any attack or from being destroyed. They found many of the enemy ready to receive them, to whom they gave battle, and after a severe conflict they captured the bridge and kept it. Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he hath stol'n a pyx and hanged must be. Chapter 1, T will be seen by the following extract from the anonymous chronicler how minutely Shakespeare has adhered to history. There was brought to the king in that plain a certain English robber, who, contrary to the laws of God and the royal proclamation, had stolen from a church a pyx of copper gilt, found in his sleeve, which he happened to mistake for gold, in which the Lord's body was kept, and in the next village where he passed the night by decree of the king, he was put to death on the gallows. Titus Livius relates that Henry commanded his army to halt until the sacrilege was expiated. He first caused the pyx to be restored to the church, and the offender was then led, bound as a thief, through the army, and afterwards hung upon a tree, that every man might behold him. Go, bid thy master well advise himself. Chapter 1. If we may pass, we will; if we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood. Chapter 501. Sculler. Chapter 1000. Why desire is that none of you be so unadvised, as to be the occasion that I in my defence shall colour and make red your tawny ground with the effusion of Christian blood. When he, Henry, had thus answered the herald, he gave him a great reward and licensed him to depart. Hollinch. Enter chorus. Chapter 100. Ho, now entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds one, that the fixed sentinels almost receive, the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, three and through their paly flames. Each battle sees the other's umbered face, for steed threatens steed, in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear, and from the tents, the armourers accomplishing the nights, with busy hammers closing rivets up, give dreadful note of preparation. Proud of their numbers and secure in soul, the confident and overlusty 5 French. Chapter 500. Oh, the low-rated English play at dice, 6. And chide the crippled tardy-gated knight, who like a foul and ugly witch doth limp so tediously away. Scene opens and discovers the interior of a French tent, with the Dauphin, the Constable, Orleans and others, playing at dice. Chapter 500. Oh, will it never be day? Chapter 100. On, I would it were morning, for I would fain be about the ears of the English. Chapter 500. Oh, who will go to hazard with me for 20 English prisoners? Oral, the prince longs to eat the English. Chapter 100. On, would it were day, alas, poor Harry of England, he longs not for the dawning as we do. Chapter 500. Oh, if the English had any apprehension, they would run away. Chapter 100. On, that island of England breeds very valiant creatures, their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage. Chapter 500. Oh, foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples, you may as well say, that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast on the lip of a lion. Chapter 100. On, just, give them great meals of beef and iron and steel, they will eat like wolves and fight like devils. Oral, aye, but these English are shrewdly out of beef. Chapter 100. On, then we shall find tomorrow they have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now is it time to arm, come shall we about it. Chapter 500. Oh, it is now 2 o'clock, but let me see, by 10 we shall have each 100 Englishmen. Scene 150, OSES Inn. Chapter 100. Ho, the poor condemned English. Chapter 51. Key sacrifices by their watchful fires. Sit patiently and inly ruminate the morning's danger, and their gestures sad. Chapter 1. Investing lankleen cheeks and war-worn coats, presenteth them unto the gazing moon. So many horrid ghosts. Scene reopens, discovering the English camp with group of soldiery praying. After a pause the scene closes. Oh, now who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent. Chapter 50. Let him cry praise and glory on his head. For forth he goes and visits all his host, bids them good morrow with a modest smile, and calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath enrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of colour unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks and overbears a taint, with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch, pining and pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. Then's mean and gentle all. Behold, as may unworthiness define, a little touch of Harry in the night. And so our scene must to the battle fly, the field of Agincourt, yet sit and see. Chapter 1001, ending true things 7 by what their mockeries be. Exit. Act 4. Scene 1. The English camp. Agincioti. Night. Enter King Henry and Gloucester. Uelh. K. Hen, Gloucester, 'tis true that we are in great danger. The greater therefore should our courage be. Enter Bedford, R.H. Good morrow, brother Bedford, gracious heaven. There is some soul of goodness in things evil. Would men observingly distill it out? For our bad neighbour makes us early stirrers, which is both healthful and good husbandry. Thus may we gather honey from the weed, and make a moral of the devil himself. Enter Erpingham, L.H. Good morrow, old Sir Thomas Erpingham. A good soft pillow for that good white head were better than a churlish turf of France. Not so, my liege, this lodging likes me better, since I may say, now lie I like a king. K. Hen, lend me thy cloak, Sir Thomas, brothers both. Chapter 100, Armand me to the princes in our camp. Chapter 500, O my good morrow to them and anon. Chapter 500, Escher them all to my pavilion. Glow we shall, my liege. Exeunt Gloucester and Bedford, R.H. Shall I attend your grace? K. Hen. No, my good knight. Go with my brothers to my lords of England. Erpingham crosses to R. Chapter 1, and my bosom must debate a while, and then I would no other company. Heaven bless thee, noble Harry. Exit Erpingham, R.H. K. Hen, Gadamercy, old heart, thou speakest cheerfully. Enter Pistol, L.H. Pist, qui va là? K. Hen, a friend. Pist, discuss unto me, art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular? 1. K. Hen, I am a gentleman of a company. Pist, trails thou the puissant pike? K. Hen, even so, what are you? Pist, as good a gentleman as the emperor. K. Hen, then you are a better than the king too. Pist, the king's a bokak, 3 and a heart of gold. A lad of life, an imp of fame, 4. Of parents good, of fist most valiant. Chapter 1, kiss his dirty shoe and from my heartstrings. Chapter 1, love the lovely bully, what's thy name? K. Hen, Harry Leroy. Pist, Leroy, a Cornish name, art thou of Cornish crew? K. Hen, no, I am a Welshman. Pist, knowest thou Fluellen? K. Hen, yes. Pist, tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day. Chapter 100, Rosses to I. K. Hen, do not you wear your dagger in your cap that day, lest he knock that about yours. Pist, art thou his friend? K. Hen, and his kinsman too. Pist, the fee go for thee then. K. Hen, I thank you, heaven be with you. Pist, my name is Pistol called. Exit R.H. K. Hen, it sorts 5 well with your fierceness. Enter Fluellen, L.H., and crosses to R. and Gower UERH following hastily. Gow, Captain Fluellen. Flew, so, in the name of heaven, speak lower. 6. It is the greatest admiration in the universal world, when the true and ancient prerogatives and laws of the wars is not kept. If you would take the pains but to examine the wars of Pompey the Great, you shall find, I warrant you, that there is no tittle-tattle or pibble-pabble in Pompey's camp. Gow, why the enemy is loud, you heard him all night. Flew, if the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, is it meet, think you, that we should also, look you, be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb in your own conscience now? Gow, I will speak lower. Flew, I pray you and beseech you that you will. Exeunt Gower and Fluellen R.H. K. Hen, though it appear a little out of fashion, there is much care and valour in this Welshman. Enter Bates and Williams L.H. Will, brother John Bates, is not that the morning which breaks yonder? Bates, I think it be, but we have no great cause to desire the approach of day. Will, we see yonder the beginning of the day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there? K. Hen, a friend. Chapter 100, Ohms down R. Will, under what captain serve you? K. Hen, under Sir Thomas Erpingham. Will, a good old commander and a most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate? K. Hen, even as men wrecked upon a sand, that look to be washed off the next tide. Bates, he hath not told his thought to the king. K. Hen, no, nor it is not meet he should, crosses to centre. For though I speak it to you, I think the king is but a man as I am. The violet smells to him as it doth to me. The element shows to him as it doth to me. All his senses have but human conditions. 7 Therefore when he sees reason of fears as we do his fears out of doubt, be of the same relish as ours are. Yet in reason no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he by showing it should dishearten his army. Bates, he may show what outward courage he will, but I believe as cold a night as tease, he could wish himself in the Thames up to the neck, and so I would he were, and I by him at all adventures, so we were quit here. K. Hen, by my troth I will speak my conscience of the king, I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is. Bates, then would he were here alone, so should he be sure to be ransomed, and a many poor men's lives saved. K. Hen, I dare say you love him not so ill, to wish him here alone, howsoever you speak this, to feel other men's minds. Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company, his cause being just, and his quarrel honourable. 8. Will, that's more than we know. Bates, aye, or more than we should seek after, for we know enough if we know we are the king's subjects. If 58 his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us. Will, but if the cause be not good, the king himself hath a heavy reconing to make, when all those legs and arms and heads chopped off in battle shall join together at the latter day 9 and cry all, we died at such place, some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives left poor behind them, some upon the debts they, some upon their children rawly left. 10 I am afeard there are few die well that die in battle, for how can they charitably dispose of anything when blood is their argument? Now, if these men do not die well, it will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, whom to disobey were against all proportion of subjection. K. Hen, so if a son that is by his father sent about merchandise, do sinfully miscarry upon the sea, the imputation of his wickedness by your rule should be imposed upon his father that sent him. But this is not so. The king is not bound to answer the particular endings of his soldiers, nor the father of his son, for they purpose not their death when they purpose their services. Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every mote out of his conscience, and dying so, death is to him advantage, or not dying, the time was blessedly lost wherein such preparation was gained. Will, 'tis certain, every man that dies ill, the ill is upon his own head, the king is not to answer for it. Bates, I do not desire he should answer for me, and yet I determined to fight lustily for him. K. Hen, I myself heard the king say he would not be ransomed. Will, aye, he said so to make us fight cheerfully, but when our throats are cut he may be ransomed and we ne'er the wiser. K. Hen, if I live to see it, I will never trust his word after. Will, that's a perilous shot out of an elder gun that a poor and private displeasure can do against a monarch. You may as well go about to turn the sun to ice with fanning in his face with a peacock's feather. You'll never trust his word after. Come, 'tis a foolish saying. K. Hen, your reproof is something too round. 11 I should be angry with you if the time were convenient. Will, let it be a quarrel between us if you live. K. Hen, I embrace it. Will, how shall I know thee again? K. Hen, give me any gauge of thine and I will wear it in my bonnet. Then if ever thou darest acknowledge it, I will make it my quarrel. Will, here's my glove, give me another of thine. K. Hen's there. Will, this will I also wear in my cap, if ever thou come to me and say after tomorrow, this is my glove by this hand, I will take thee a box on the ear. K hen, if ever I live to see it, I will challenge it. Will, thou darest as well be hanged. K hen, well, I will do it, though I take thee in the king's company. Will, keep thy word, fare thee well. Bates, be friends, you English fools, be friends. Crosses to Williams are, we have French quarrels enough if you could tell how to reckon. Exeunt soldiers R.H. K hen upon the king, let us our lives, our souls. Our sins lay on the king, we must bear all. O hard condition, twin born with greatness, subjected to the breath of every fool. What infinite heart's ease must kings neglect, that private men enjoy? And what have kings that privates have not too? Save ceremony, save general ceremony. And what art thou, thou idle ceremony? Art thou aught else but place, degree, and form? Chapter 100, reading awe and fear in other men. Wherein thou art less happy being feared than they in fearing. What drink'st thou oft, instead of homage sweet? But poisoned flattery, oh be sick great greatness, and bid thy ceremony give thee cure. Chapter 100, anst thou when thou command'st the beggar's knee? Chapter 100, Amen the health of it, know thou proud dream, that plays so subtly with a king's repose. Chapter 1, am a king that find thee, and I know 'tis not the balm, the sceptre, and the bowl, the sword, the mace, the crown imperial, the throne he sits on, nor the tide of pomp that beats upon the high shore of this world. No, not all these, thrice gorgeous ceremony, not all these, laid in bed majestical. Chapter 100, and sleep so soundly as the wretched slave, who, with a body filled and vacant mind, gets him to rest, crammed with distressful bread, and but for ceremony such a wretch, winding up days with toil and nights with sleep, had the forehand and vantage of a king. Enter Erpingham R.H. My lord, your nobles, jealous of your absence, seek through your camp to find you. K hen, good old knight. Chapter 100, I'll elect them all together at my tent. Chapter 1, I'll be before thee. Gives back the cloak to Erpingham. Chapter 1, shall dart my lord. Exit R.H. K hen, O God of battles, steal my soldiers' hearts. Possess them not with fear, take from them now the sense of reckoning, lest the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them. Not today, O Lord. O not today, think not upon the fault. Chapter 1000, why father made encompassing the crown. Chapter 1, Richard's body have interred new, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears. Then from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor I have in yearly pay, who twice a day their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. Chapter 1000, or will I do? Trumpet sounds without R. The day, my friends, and all things stay for me. Exit R.H. Scene 2, the French camp, sunrise. Flourish of trumpets. Enter Dauphin, Grandpa, Ramburers, 12 and others. Chapter 500, oh the sun doth gild our armour up, my lords. Chapter 1000, why horse varlet lackey ha? Servants exeunt hastily. Grand, O brave spirit. Chapter 500, O cousin Orleans. Enter Constable L.H. Now, my lord Constable. Chapter 100, on, hark how our steeds for present service neigh. Chapter 500, O mount them and make incision in their hides, that their hot blood may spin in English eyes. Endout them 13 with superfluous courage ha. Chapter 100, on, what will you have them weep our horses' blood? How shall we then behold their natural tears? Enter Montje R.H. Chapter 1000, Aunt, the English are embattled, you French peers. Exit RH. Chapter 100, On to horse, you gallant princes, straight to horse. Chapter 500, Oh but behold yon poor and starved band. There is not work enough for all our hands, scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins, to give each naked curtleax a stain. 'Tis positive, 'gainst all exceptions, lords, that our superfluous lackeys are enough to purge this field of such a hilding foe. 14. A very little let us do, and all is done, then let the trumpet sound. For our approach shall so much dare the field, that England shall couch down in fear and yield. Enter Orleans hastily. RH. All, why do you stay so long, my lords of France? Yon island carrions, 15 desperate of their bones. Chapter 99, Favouredly become the morning field. Their ragged curtains poorly are let loose. 16. And our air shakes them passing scornfully. Big Mars seems bankrupt in their beggared host, and their executors, the knavish crows, fly o'er them, all impatient for their hour. Chapter 500, Ascription cannot suit itself in words to demonstrate the life of such a battle. Chapter 1, En life so lifeless as it shows itself. Chapter 500, Oh shall we go send them dinners and fresh suits, and give their fasting horses provender, and after fight with them. Chapter 100, On to the field. Chapter 100, Come away. The sun is high, and we outwear the day. Exeunt. RH. Flourish of trumpets. Scene 3, the English position. 80 Agiansoati. The English army drawn up for battle, Gloucester, Bedford, Exeter, Salisbury, Erpingham and Westmoreland. Glow, where is the king? Bed, the king himself is rode to view their battle. 17. West, of fighting men they have full 70,000. Exe, there's 5 to 1, besides they all are fresh. It is fearful odds. Chapter 1, If we no more meet till we meet in heaven, then joyfully, my noble lord of Bedford. Chapter 100, Rosses to L. Chapter 1000, Why dear Lord Gloucester and my good Lord Exeter. Warriors all adieu. Chapter 100, Rosses back to I. West, oh that we now had here but 10,000 of those men in England that do no work today. Enter King Henry attended, UELH. K. Hens. What's he that wishes so? Chapter 1000, Why cousin Westmoreland, no my fair cousin. Chapter 1, If we are marked to die we are enough to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honour. Chapter 1, Pray thee wish not one man more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he who hath no stomach to this fight. Chapter 50, Let him depart, his passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispin. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispin. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his friends 18, and say, Tomorrow is Saint Crispin. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars, and say, Those wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages 19. What feats he did that day, then shall our names, familiar in their mouths as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin shall ne'er go by, from this day to the ending 20 of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap while any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day. Enter Gower hastily, Uelh. Gow, my sovereign lord, bestow yourself with speed. The French are bravely in their battles set 22, and will with all expedients charge on us. Hen, all things are ready if our minds be so. West, perish the man whose mind is backward now. Hen, thou dost not wish more help from England, cousin. West, would you and I alone, my liege, without more help might fight this battle out. Trumpet sounds without, LH. Enter Montjoy and attendants, Uelh. Chapter 1000, Aunt uncovers and kneels. Once more I come to know of thee, King Harry. Chapter 1, F for thy ransom thou wilt now compound, before thy most assured overthrow. Hen, who hath sent thee now? Chapter 1000, Aunt. The Constable of France. Hen, I pray thee bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me 23, and then sell my bones. Good heaven, why should they mock poor fellows thus? The man that once did sell the lion's skin, while the beast lived, was killed with hunting him. Chapter 50, Let me speak proudly, tell the constable. We are but warriors for the working day, 24. Our gayness and our guilt 25 are all besmirched with rainy marching in the painful field, and time hath worn us into slovenry. But by the mass our hearts are in the trim, and my poor soldiers tell me, yet ere night they'll be in fresher robes, or they will pluck the gay new coats o'er the French soldiers' heads, and turn them out of service. Chapter 100, Own thou no more for ransom, gentle herald. They shall have none, I swear, but these my joints, which if they have as I will leave 'em to them, shall yield them little, tell the constable. Chapter 1000, Aunt, I shall King Harry rises from his knee, and so fare thee well. Thou never shalt hear herald any more. Exit with attendants, Uelh. Hen, now soldiers march away, and how thou pleasest, heaven dispose the day. Trumpet march. Exeunt LH. Scene 4, another part of the field of battle. Alarums, enter Dauphin, Orleans, Bourbon, Constable, Ramburas and others, hastily, and in confusion LH. Chapter 500, Oh, all is confounded all. Reproach and everlasting shame sits mocking in our plumes. Alarums L. Chapter 100, Ons. Why all our ranks are broke. Chapter 500, O perdurable shame, 26 Let's stab ourselves. Be these the wretches that we played at dice for? Or is this the king we sent to for his ransom? Chapter 500, O shame and eternal shame, nothing but shame. Chapter 50, Let us die in honour once more back again. Chapter 100, On disorder that hath spoiled us friend us now. Chapter 50, Let us in heaps go offer up our lives unto these English, or else die with fame. Chapter 500, Oh, we are enough yet living in the field to smother up the English in our throngs. Chapter 1, If any order might be thought upon. Chapter 100, On the devil take order now, I'll to the throng. Chapter 50, Let life be short, else shame will be too long. Alarums. Exeunt LH. Scene 5, the field of Agincourt after the battle. The bodies of the Duke of York and Earl of Suffolk are borne across the stage by soldiers. Trumpets sound. Enter King Henry with a part of the English forces, Warwick, Bedford, Gloucester, Exeter and others lh. Hen, I was not angry since I came to France. Until this instant, take a trumpet, herald. Ride thou unto the horsemen on yon hill. Chapter 1, if they will fight with us, bid them come down, or void the field. 27 They do offend our sight. Chapter 1, if they'll do neither, we will come to them, and make them scur away, as swift as stones, enforced from the old Assyrian slings. Go and tell them so. Exit herald with trumpeter R.H. The Duke of York commends him to your majesty. Hen, lives he, good uncle, thrice within this hour. Chapter 1, saw him down thrice up again and fighting. From helmet to the spur all blood he was. In which array, brave soldier, did he lie? Chapter 50, arding the plain and by his bloody side. Yoke fellow to his honour rowing wounds. The noble Earl of Suffolk also lay. Suffolk first died, and York all haggled over. Chapter 100, Ohms to him where in gore he lay ensteeped, and takes him by the hand, kisses the gashes that bloodily did yarn upon his face, and cries aloud, tarry dear cousin Suffolk. Chapter 1000, why soul shall thine keep company to heaven? Tarry sweet soul for mine, then fly abreast, as in this glorious and well-foughten field we keep together in our chivalry. Upon these words I came and cheered him up. He smiled me in the face, wrought me his hand 28, and with a feeble gripe says, Dear my lord. Chapter 100, Armand my service to my sovereign. So did he turn, and over Suffolk's neck he threw his wounded arm, and kissed his lips, and so espoused to death, with blood he sealed a testament of noble ending love. The pretty and sweet manner of it forked those waters from me which I would have stopped. But I had not so much of man in me, but all my mother came into mine eyes, and gave me up to tears. Re-enter English herald and trumpeter, R.H. Hen. Chapter 1, blame you not. For hearing this I must perforce compound with mistful eyes, or they will issue too. Trumpet without R. Here comes the herald of the French, my liege. Glow, his eyes are humbler than they us to be. Enter Montje and attendants, R.H. Montje uncovers and kneels. Hen, how now, what means this, herald? Chapter 100, Ohmsty thou again for ransom. Chapter 1000, Aunt. No, great king. Chapter 1, come to thee for charitable license, that we may wander o'er this bloody field, to book our dead and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from our common men, for many of our princes woe the while. Chapter 51, drowned and soaked in mercenary blood, so do our vulgar drench their peasant limbs. Chapter 1, blood of princes and their wounded steeds, fret fetlock deep in gore and with wild rage, yerk out their armed heels at their dead masters, killing them twice. Oh, give us leave, great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies. Hen. Chapter 1, tell thee truly, herald. Chapter 1, know not if the day be ours or no, for yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field. Chapter 1000, Aunt. The day is yours. Hen, praised be heaven and not our strength for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by? Chapter 1000, Aunt, they call it Agincourt. Hen, then call we this, the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispin Crispianus. Chapter 50, oud flourish of trumpets and shouts of the soldiers, Montje rises from his knee and stands R. Flew, your grandfather of famous memory, an't please your majesty, and your great-uncle Edward the Black Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France. Hen they did, Flulan. Flu, your majesty says very true. If your majesties is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in a 69 garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps. 29, which your majesty knows, to this hour is an honourable page of the service, and I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Tavy's day. Hen, I wear it for a memorable honour. For I am Welsh, you know, good countrymen. Flu, all the water in why cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your pody, I can tell you that. Heaven bless it and preserve it as long as it pleases his grace, and his majesty too. Hen, thanks, good my countryman. Flu, I am your majesty's countryman, I care not who know it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not to be ashamed of your majesty, praised be heaven, so long as your majesty is an honest man. Hen, heaven keep me so, our herald go with him. Bring me just notice of the numbers dead. On both our parts. Exeunt Montague and attendants, with English herald R.H. Chapter 100, all yonder fellow hither. Points to Williams, who is standing in the ranks up the stage. Exe, soldier, you must come to the king. Hen, soldier, why wear'st thou that glove in thy cap? Will, kneels our aunt, please your majesty, 'tis the gage of one that I should fight withal if he be alive. Rises from his knee. Hen, an Englishman. Will, aunt, please your majesty, a rascal that swaggered with me last night, who if alive and ever dare to challenge this glove, I have sworn to take him a box o' the ear, or if I can see my glove in his cap, which he swore as he was a soldier he would wear if alive, I will strike it out soundly. Hen, what think you, Captain Flulan, is it fit this soldier keep his oath? Flu, he is a craven and a villain else, an't please your majesty in my conscience. Hen, it may be his enemy is a gentleman of great sort 30 quite from the answer of his degree 31. Flu, though he be as good a gentleman as the devil is, as Lucifer and Beelzebub himself, it is necessary, look your grace, that he keep his vow and his oath. Hen, then keep thy vow, sirrah, when thou meetst the fellow. Will, so I will, my liege, as I live. Hen, who servest thou under? Will, under Captain Gower, my liege. Flu, Gower is a good captain, and is good knowledge and literature in the wars. Hen, call him hither to me, soldier. Will, I will, my liege. Exit R.H. Hen, here, Flulan, wear thou this favour for me and stick it in thy cap. When Alenson and myself were down together, I plucked this glove from his helm. If any man challenge this, he is a friend to Alenson and an enemy to our person. If thou encounter any such, apprehend him, and thou dost love me. Flu, your grace does me as great honours as can be desired in the hearts of his subjects. I would fain see the man, that has but 2 legs, that shall find himself aggrieved at this glove, that is all. Hen, knowest thou Gower? Flu, he is my dear friend and please you. Hen, pray thee go seek him and bring him to my tent. Flu, I will fetch him. Chapter 100, Rosses to R and exit R.H. Hen, my lord of Warwick and my brother Gloucester. Both advance to the king. Follow Flulan closely at the heels. The glove which I have given him for a favour. Chapter 1000, I haply purchase him a box o' the ear. Chapter 1, T is the soldiers I by bargain should wear it myself, follow good cousin Warwick. Warwick crosses to R. Chapter 1, F that the soldiers strike him as I judge. By his blunt bearing he will keep his word. Some sudden mischief may arise of it. For I do know Flulan valiant, and touched with choler, hot as gunpowder, and quickly will return an injury. Follow Gloucester crosses to R, and see there be no harm between them. Warwick and Gloucester exeunt R.H. Go you with me, uncle of Exeter. Exeunt omnes L.H. Trumpets sound. Scene 6, before King Henry's pavilion. Enter Gower and Williams R.H. Will, I warrant it is to knight you captain. Enter Fluellen R.H. Flew, heaven's will and pleasure, captain, I beseech you now, come apace to the king. There is more good toward you peradventure than is in your knowledge to dream of. Will, sir, know you this glove? Flew, know the glove, I know the glove is a glove. Will, I know this, and thus I challenge it. Strikes him. Flew, blood, an errant traitor as any's in the universal world, or in France, or in England. Gow, how now, sir, you villain? Will, do you think I'll be forsworn? Flew, stand away, Captain Gower, I will give treason his payment in ploughs, I warrant you. Will, I am no traitor. Flew, that's a lie in thy throat. I charge you in his Majesty's name apprehend him, he's a friend of the Duke Alençon S. Enter Warwick and Gloucester R.H. Glows, crosses to see how now, what's the matter? Flew, my lord of Gloucester, here is praised be heaven for it. A most contagious treason come to light, look you, as you shall desire in a summer's day. Here is his Majesty. Enter King Henry, Exeter and others UELH. K. Hen coming down centre, how now, what's the matter? Flew, my liege, here is a villain and a traitor, that, look your grace, has struck the glove which your Majesty is take out of the helmet of Alençon. Will, my liege, this was my glove, here is the fellow of it, and he that I gave it to in change promised to wear it in his cap. I promised to strike him if he did. I met this man with my glove in his cap, and I have been as good as my word. Flew, your Majesty here now, saving your Majesty's manhood, what an errant, rascally, beggarly, lousy knave it is. I hope your Majesty is bear me testimony, and witness and avouchments that this is the glove of Alençon, that your Majesty is give me in your conscience now. K. Hen, give me thy glove, soldier, look, here is the fellow of it. 'Twas I indeed thou promisedst to strike, and thou hast given me most bitter terms. Williams falls on his knee. Flew, and please your Majesty, let his neck answer for it, if there is any martial law in the old. K. Hen, how canst thou make me satisfaction? Will, all offences, my liege, come from the heart, never came any from mine, that might offend your Majesty. K. Hen, it was ourself thou didst abuse. Will, your Majesty came not like yourself, you appeared to me but as a common man, witness the night your garments, your lowliness, and what your Highness suffered under that shape, I beseech you, take it for your own fault and not mine. For had you been as I took you for, I made no offence, therefore I beseech your Highness pardon me. K. Hen, here Uncle Exeter, fill this glove with crowns, and give it to this fellow. Williams rises, keep it, fellow, and wear it for an honour in thy cap. Till I do challenge it, give him the crowns. And captain, you must needs be friends with him. The king goes up the stage with Exeter, Bedford and Gloucester. Flew, by this day and this light the fellow has metal enough in his pelly. Hold, there is 12 pence for you, and I pray you to serve heaven and keep you out of prowls and prabbles and quarrels and dissensions, and I warrant you it is the better for you. Will, I will none of your money. Flew, it is with a good will, I can tell you it will serve you to mend your shoes. Come, wherefore should you be so bashful? Your shoes is not so good. 'Tis a good silling, I warrant you, or I will change it. Exit Williams R.H. Enter English Herald R.H. K. Hen, coming down, see now, herald of the dead. Herald uncovers, kneels and delivers papers. The king gives one paper to Exeter. K. Hen, what prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle? EXC, Charles Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king. John Duke of Bourbon and Lord Boucicault. Of other lords and barons, knights and squires. Full 1,500 besides common men. K. Hen, this note doth tell me of 10,000 French, that in the field lie slain, of princes in this number, and nobles bearing banners there lie dead. 126, added to these, of knights, esquires and gallant gentlemen, 8,400, of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights, 32. So that in these 10,000 they have lost. There are but 1,600 mercenaries, 33. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. Here was a royal fellowship of death. What is the number of our English dead? Exe, Edward the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Ketley, Davy Gam, Esquire, none else of name, and of all other men. But 25. Hen, O heaven, thy arm was here, and not to us but to thy arm alone. Ascribe we all, when without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss. On one part and on the other, take it heaven, for it is only thine. Returns papers to herald, who rises and stands out. Exe. 'Tis wonderful. Hen, come go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host, to boast of this or take that praise from heaven, which is his only. Flew, is it not lawful and please your majesty to tell how many is killed? Hen, up the stage see yes, captain, but with this acknowledgement, that heaven fought for us. Flew, yes, my conscience, he did us great good. Hen, do we all holy rites? The curtains of the royal pavilion are drawn aside, and discover an altar and priests. Chapter 50, Et there be sung non nobis and te deum. The dead with charity enclosed in clay, will then to Calais, and to England then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men. Organ music, all kneel, and join in song of thanksgiving. End of ACT 4. Historical notes to ACT 4th. Enter Erpingham. Sir Thomas Erpingham came over with Bolingbroke from Bretagne, and was one of the commissioners to receive King Richard's abdication. In Henry V's time, Sir Thomas was warden of Dover Castle, and at the Battle of Agincourt was commander of the archers. This venerable knight is described by Monstrelet to have grown grey with age and honour, and when orders were given for the English army to march toward the enemy, by Henry crying aloud, "Advance banners," Sir Thomas threw his truncheon in the air as a signal to the whole field, exclaiming, "Now strike!" and loud and repeated shouts testified the readiness with which they obeyed the command. Richard's body have interred new. Henry was anxious not only to repair his own misconduct, but also to make amends for 76 those iniquities into which policy or the necessity of affairs had betrayed his father. He expressed the deepest sorrow for the fate of the unhappy Richard, did justice to the memory of that unfortunate prince, even performed his funeral obsequies with pomp and solemnity, and cherished all those who had distinguished themselves by their loyalty and attachment towards him. Hume's History of England. Enter Orleans. Charles, Duke of Orleans, was wounded and taken prisoner at Agincourt. Henry refused all ransom for him, and he remained in captivity 23 years. This prince was a celebrated poet, and some of his most beautiful verses were composed during his confinement in the Tower of London. He married Isabella of Valois, daughter of Charles VI, and Isabeau of Bavaria, eldest sister to the Princess Catherine, Queen of Henry V. Chapter 1. Sabella was the widow of our Richard II when she married the Duke of Orleans. After the victory of Agincourt, the following anecdote is related by Ramay. During their journey to Calais, at a place where they rested, Henry caused bread and wine to be brought to him, which he sent to the Duke of Orleans. But the French prince would neither eat nor drink. This being reported to the king, he imagined that it arose from dissatisfaction, and therefore went to the Duke. "Noble cousin," said Henry, "how are you?" "Well, my lord," answered the Duke. "Why then is it," added the king, "that you will neither eat nor drink?" To which Orleans replied, that truly he had no inclination for food. "Noble cousin," rejoined Henry, "be of good heart. I know that God gave me the victory over the French, not that I deserved it, but I fully believe that he wished to punish them. And if what I have heard is true, it is not to be wondered at, for never were there greater disorder, sensuality, sins and vices seen than now prevail in France, which it is horrible to hear described. And if God is provoked, it is not a subject of surprise, and no one can be astonished." Many more conversations are said to have passed between the king and the Duke of Orleans, and the commiseration and courtesy of the former to his prisoners is mentioned by every writer in terms of just praise. The English army drawn up for battle, the victory gained at Agincourt in the year 1415, is in a great measure ascribed to the English archers, and that there might be no want of arrows, Henry V. ordered the sheriffs of several counties to procure feathers from the wings of geese, plucking 6 from each goose. An archer of this time was clad in a cuirass, or a hauberk of chainmail, with a salade on his head, which was a kind of bassinet. Every man had a good bow, a sheaf of arrows, and a sword. Fabian describes the archers' dress at the Battle of Agincourt. The yeomen had their limbs at liberty, for their hose was fastened with one point, and their jackets were easy to shoot 77 in, so that they might draw bows of great strength, and shoot arrows a yard long. Some are described as without hats or caps, others with caps of boiled leather or wicker work, crossed over with iron, some without shoes, and all in a very dilapidated condition. Each bore on his shoulder a long stake, sharpened at both extremities, which he was instructed to fix obliquely before him in the ground, and thus oppose a rampart of pikes to the charge of the French cavalry. Oh, that we now had here but 10,000 of those men in England that do no work today. A certain Lord Walter Hungerford Knight was regretting in the king's presence that he had not, in addition to the small retinue which he had there, 10,000 of the best English archers, who would be desirous of being with him. When the king said, "Thou speakest foolishly, for by the God of heaven, on whose grace I have relied, and in whom I have a firm hope of victory, I would not, even if I could, increase my number by 1. For those whom I have are the people of God, whom he thinks me worthy to have at this time. Dost thou not believe the Almighty with these his humble few is able to conquer the haughty opposition of the French, who pride themselves on their numbers and their own strength, as if it might be said they would do as they liked? And in my opinion, God, of his true justice, would not bring any disaster upon one of so great confidence, as neither fell out to Judas Maccabeus until he became distrustful, and thence deservedly fell into ruin." Nicholas's History of Agincourt. Enter King Henry, attended. Henry rose with the earliest dawn and immediately heard 3 masses. He was habited in his coat d'arms, containing the arms of France and England quarterly, and wore on his bassinet a very rich crown of gold and jewels, circled like an imperial crown, that is, arched over, the earliest instance of an arched crown worn by an English monarch. Vide Planchet's History of British Costume. King Henry had at Agincourt for his person 5 banners, that is, the banner of the Trinity, the banner of St. George, the banner of St. Edward, the banner of St. Edmund, and the banner of his own arms. When the King of England had drawn up his order of battle, he made a fine address to his troops, exhorting them to act well, saying that he was come into France to recover his lawful inheritance, and that he had good and just cause to claim it, that in that quarrel they might freely and surely fight, that they should remember that they were born in the kingdom where their fathers and mothers, wives and children, now dwelt, and therefore they ought to strive to return there with great glory and fame, that the kings of England, his predecessors, had gained many noble battles and successes over the French, that on that day every one should endeavour to preserve his own person and the honour of the crown of the King of England. He moreover 78 reminded them that the French boasted they would cut off 3 fingers from the right hand of every archer they should take, so that their shot should never again kill man nor horse. The army cried out loudly, saying, "Sir, we pray God give you a good life and the victory over your enemies." Nicholas's History of Agincourt. The banner of the Oriflamme is said to have been unfurled by the French for the last time at Agincourt. The Feast of Crispin. The Battle of Agincourt was fought upon the 25th of October, 1415, St. Crispin's Day. The legend upon which this is founded is as follows. Crispinus and Crispianus were brethren, born at Rome, from whence they travelled to Soissons in France about the year 303 to propagate the Christian religion, but because they would not be chargeable to others for their maintenance they exercised the trade of shoemakers, but the governor of the town, discovering them to be Christians, ordered them to be beheaded about the year 303, from which time the shoemakers made choice of them for their tutelar saints. See Hall's Chronicle. Holinshed states that the English army consisted of 15,000, and the French of 60,000 horse and 000 infantry, in all 100,000. Walsingham and Harding represent the English as but 9,000, and other authors say that the number of French amounted to 150,000. Fabian says the French were 40,000, and the English only 7,000. The battle lasted only 3 hours. How thou pleasest, heaven dispose the day. At the Battle of Agincourt, having chosen a convenient spot on which to marshal his men, the king sent privately 200 archers into a low meadow, which was on one of his flanks, where they were so well secured by a deep ditch and a marsh, that the enemy could not come near them. Then he divided his infantry into 3 squadrons or battles, the vanguard or avant-garde composed entirely of archers, the middle ward of billmen only, and the rear ward, 79 of billmen and archers mixed together. The horsemen, as wings, went on the flanks of each of the battles. He also caused stakes to be made of wood about 5 or 6 feet long, headed with sharp iron. These were fixed in the ground, and the archers so placed before them that they were entirely hid from the sight of the enemy. When therefore the heavy cavalry of the French charged, which was done with the utmost impetuosity, under the idea of cutting down and riding over the archers, they shrunk at once behind the stakes, and the Frenchmen, unable to stop their horses, rode full upon them, so that they overthrew their riders and caused the utmost confusion. The infantry who were to follow up and support this charge were so struck with amazement that they hesitated, and by this were lost, for during the panic the English archers threw back their bows, and with axes, bills, glaives, and swords, slew the French, till they met the middle ward. The king himself, according to speed, rode in the main battle completely armed, his shield quartering the achievements of France and England. Upon his helm he wore a coronet encircled with pearls and precious stones, and after the victory, although it had been cut and bruised, he would not suffer it to be ostentatiously exhibited to the people, but ordered all his men to give the glory to God alone. His horse was one of fierce courage, and had a bridle and furniture of goldsmith's work, and the caparisons were most richly embroidered with the victorious ensigns of the English monarchy. Thus is he represented on his great seal, with the substitution of a knight's cap, and the crest for the chaplet. Elmam's account, from which this is amplified, is more particular in some of the details. He relates that the king appeared on a palfrey, followed by a train of led horses, ornamented with the most gorgeous trappings. His helmet was of polished steel, surmounted with a coronet sparkling with jewels, and on his surcoat, or rather juppon, were emblazoned the arms of France and England, azure, 3 fleurs-de-lis, or, and gules, 3 lions passant guardant, or, the nobles in like manner were decorated with their proper armorial bearings. Before him was borne the royal standard, which was ornamented with gold and splendid colours. An account of the memorable Battle of Azincourt or Agincourt, fought on the 25th of October, 1415, is thus related by Mr. Turner. At dawn the King of England had matins, and the mass chaunted in his army. He stationed all the horses and baggage in the village, under such small guard as he could spare. Having resolved to fight the battle on foot, he sagaciously perceived that his only chance of victory rested in the superiority of the personal fortitude and activity of his countrymen, and to bring them face to face, and arm to arm with their opponents, was the simple object of his tactical dispositions. He formed his troops into 3 divisions with 2 wings. The centre, in which he stationed himself, he planted to act against the main body of the French, and he placed the right and left divisions, with their wings, at a small distance only from himself. He so chose his ground that the village protected his rear, and hedges and briars 80 defended his flanks, determined to shun no danger, but to be a conspicuous example to his troops on a day when no individual exertions could be spared. He put on a neat and shining armour, with a large and brilliant helmet, and on this he placed a crown, radiant with its jewels, and he put over him a tunic adorned with the arms of France and England. He mounted his horse, and proceeded to address his troops. The French were commanded by the Constable of France, and with him were the Dukes of Orleans, Burgundy, Berry, and Alençon, the Marshal and Admiral of France, and a great assemblage of French nobility. Their force was divided into 3 great battalions, and continued formed till 10 o'clock, not advancing to the attack. They were so numerous as to be able to draw up 30 deep, the English but 4. 1,000 speared horsemen skirmished from each of the horns of the enemy's line, and it appeared crowded with ballistae for the projection of stones of all sizes on Henry's little army. Henry sent a part of his force behind the village of Agincourt, where the French had placed no men at arms. He moved from the rear of his army, unperceived, 200 archers, to hide themselves in a meadow on the flank of the French advanced line. An old and experienced knight, Sir Thomas Erpingham, formed the rest into battle array for an attack, putting the archers in front and the men at arms behind. The archers had each a sharp stake pointed at both ends, to use against the French horse. Sir Thomas, having completed his formation, threw up his truncheon in the air and dismounted. The English began the attack, which the French had awaited, not choosing to give the advantage as at Poictiers. But when they saw them advance, they put themselves in motion, and their cavalry charged. These were destroyed by the English archers. The French, frightened by the effect of the arrows, bent their heads to prevent them from entering the visors of their helmets, and, pressing forward, became so wedged together as to be unable to strike. The archers threw back their bows, and grasping their swords, battle-axes, and other weapons, cut their way to the second line. At this period, the ambushed archers rushed out, and poured their impetuous and irresistible arrows into the centre of the assailed force, which fell in like manner with the first line. In short, every part successively gave way, and the English had only to kill and take prisoners. The Duke of York commanded the vanguard of the English army, and was slain in the battle. This personage is the same who appears in Shakespeare's play of King Richard II by the title of Duke of Aumerle. His Christian name was Edward. He was the eldest son of Edmund Langley, Duke of York, who is introduced in the same play, and who was the fifth son of King Edward III. Richard, Earl of Cambridge, who appears in the second act of this play, was younger brother to this Edward, Duke of York. Ride thou unto the horsemen on yon hill. After the battle 81, there were small bodies of the French on different parts of the plain, but they were soon routed, slain, or taken. Enter Monch. He, the king, asked Montjoy to whom the victory belonged, to him or to the King of France. Montjoy replied that the victory was his, and could not be claimed by the King of France. The king said to the French and English heralds, "It is not we who have made this great slaughter, but the omnipotent God, as we believe, for a punishment of the sins of the French." The king then asked the name of the castle he saw near him. He was told it was Agincourt. "Well then," said he, "since all battles should bear the name of the fortress nearest to the spot where they were fought, this battle shall from henceforth bear the ever-durable name of Agincourt." Nicholas's History of Agincourt. When Alençon and myself were down together. During the battle, the Duke of Alençon most valiantly broke through the English line, and advanced, fighting near to the king, insomuch that he wounded and struck down the Duke of York. King Henry, seeing this, stepped forth to his aid, and as he was leaning down to raise him, the Duke of Alençon gave him a blow on the helmet that struck off part of his crown. The king's guard on this surrounded him, when seeing he could no way escape death but by surrendering, he lifted up his arm and said to the king, "I am the Duke of Alençon and yield myself to you." But as the king was holding out his hand to receive his pledge, he was put to death by the guards. Nicholas's History of Agincourt. Enter Warwick and Gloucester. The noble Duke of Gloucester, the king's brother, pushing himself too vigorously on his horse into the conflict, was grievously wounded, and cast down to the earth by the blows of the French, for whose protection the king being interested, he bravely leapt against his enemies in defence of his brother, defended him with his own body, and plucked and guarded him from the raging malice of the enemies, sustaining perils of war scarcely possible to be borne. Nicholas's History of Agincourt. Here was a royal fellowship of death. There is not much difficulty in forming a correct estimate of the numbers of the French slain at Agincourt, for if those writers who only state that from 3,000 to 5,000 were killed, merely meant the men-at-arms and persons of superior rank, and which is exceedingly probable, we may at once adopt the calculation of Monstrelet, Elmham, and C, and estimate the whole loss on the field at from 10 to 11,000 men. It is worthy of remark how very nearly the different statements on the subject approach to each other, and which can only be explained by the fact that the dead had been carefully numbered. Among the most illustrious persons slain were the Dukes of Brabant, Berry, and Alençon, 5 counts, and a still greater proportion of distinguished knights, and the Duke of Orleans, the Count of Vendosme, who was taken by Sir John Cornwall, 82 the Marshal Boucicault, and numerous other individuals of distinction, whose names are minutely recorded by Monstrelet, were made prisoners. The loss of the English army has been variously estimated. The discrepancies respecting the number slain on the part of the victors form a striking contrast to the accuracy of the account of the loss of their enemies. The English writers vary in their statements from 17 to 100, whilst the French chroniclers assert that from 300 to 1,600 individuals fell on that occasion. St. Remy and Monstrelet assert that 1,600 were slain. Nicholas's History of Agincourt. Do we all holy rites? Holinshed says that when the king saw no appearance of enemies, he caused the retreat to be blown, and gathering his army together, gave thanks to Almighty God for so happy a victory, causing his prelates and chaplains to sing this psalm, in exitu Israel de Egypto, and commanding every man to kneel down on the ground at this verse, non nobis Dame, non nobis sed nemini tu de gloriam, which done, he caused Te Deum and certain anthems to be sung, giving laud and praise to God, and not boasting of his own force or any human power. Enter Chorus. Chapter 100. Hor, vouchsafe to those that have not read the story, that I may prompt them. Now we bear the king towards Calais, grant him there their scene. Heave him away upon your winged thoughts. Athwart the sea, behold the English beach. Pales in the flood with men, with wives and boys. whose shouts and claps outvoice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler one for the king seems to prepare his way, so let him land, and solemnly see him set on to London. So swift a pace hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Blackheath. How London doth pour out her citizens, the mayor and all his brethren in best sort. Chapter 51, Key to the senators of the antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels. Go forth and fetch their conquering Caesarin. Now in London place him, there must we bring him. Show the occurrences whatever chanked, till Harry's back return again to France. Exit. Historical episode. Old London Bridge. From the Surrey side of the river. Reception of King Henry V. On entering London, a company of prophets of venerable hoariness, dressed in golden coats and mantles, with their heads covered and wrapping gold and crimson, sang with sweet harmony, bowing to the ground, a psalm of thanksgiving. Beneath the covering were the 12 kings, martyrs and confessors of the succession of England, their loins girded with golden girdles, sceptres in their hands and crowns on their heads, who chaunted with one accord at the king's approach in a sweet tune. And they sent forth upon him round leaves of silver mixed with wafers, equally thin and round, and there proceeded out to meet the king a chorus of most beautiful virgin girls, elegantly attired in white, singing with timbrel and dance, and then innumerable boys, as it were an angelic multitude, decked with celestial gracefulness, white apparel, shining feathers, virgin larks, studded with gems and other resplendent and most elegant array, who sent forth upon the head of the king passing beneath minnae of gold, with bows of laurel. Round about angels shone with celestial gracefulness, chaunting sweetly and with all sorts of music. And besides the pressure in the standing places, and of men crowding through the streets, and the multitude of both sexes along the way from the bridge, from one end to the other, that scarcely the horsemen could ride through them, a greater assembly or a nobler spectacle was not recollected to have been ever before in London. Act 5. Scene 1, France in the neighbourhood of Troyes. Enter Fluellen and Gower, LH. Gow, nay, that's right, but why wear you your leek today? St. Davy's day is past. Flew, there is occasions and causes why and wherefore in all things. I will tell you as my friend Captain Gower, the rascally, scold, beggarly, locy, pragging knave pistol. He is come to me and prings me priad and salt yesterday, look you, and bid me eat my leek. It was in a place where I could not preed no contentions with him, but I will be so palled as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again, and then I will tell him a little piece of my desires. Enter Pistol, RH. Gow, why here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock. Flew, 'tis no matter for his swellings nor his turkey cocks. Heaven bless you, ancient Pistol, you scurvy, locy knave, heaven bless you. Pist, ha, art thou Bedlam, dost thou thirst, base Trojan, to have me fold up Parker's fatal web? 1. Hence I am qualmish at the smell of leek. Chapter 100, Rosses to LH. Flew, I beseech you heartily, scurvy, locy knave, at my desires and my requests, and my petitions to eat, look you, this leek. Because, look you, you do not love it, nor your affections, and your appetites, and your digestions does not agree with it, I would desire you to eat it. Pist, crosses to RH not for Cadwallader and all his goats. Flew, there is one goat for you, strikes him. Will you be so goot, scald knave, as eat it? Pist, base Trojan, thou shalt die. Flew, you say very true, scald knave, when heaven's will is. I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it, striking him again. You called me yesterday mountain squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree too, I pray you, fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek. Gow, enough, captain, you have astonished him 3. Flew, I say I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will peat his pate 4 days. Pite, I pray you, it is goot for you. Pist, must I bite? Flew, yes, certainly, and out of doubt, and out of questions too, and ambiguities. Pist, by this leek I will most horribly revenge, I eat and eke I swear. Flew, eat, I pray you. Will you have some more sauce to your leek? There is not enough leek to swear by. Pist, quiet thy cudgel, thou dost see I eat. Flew, much goot do you scold knave heartily. Nay, pray you throw none away, the skin is goot for your broken coxcomb. When you take occasions to see leaks hereafter, I pray you mark at them, that is all. Pissed good. Flew, aye, leaks is goot. Hold you, there is a groat to heal your pate. Pissed me a groat. Flew, yes, verily and in truth you shall take it, or I have another leak in my pocket which you shall eat. Pissed, I take thy groat in earnest of revenge. Flew, if I owe you anything I will pay you in cudgels. Heaven be wire you and keep you and heal your pate. Exit LH. Pissed, crosses to LH, all hell shall stir for this. Chapter 100, Rosses to RH. Gow, go, you are a counterfeit cowardly knave. Will you mark at an ancient tradition, begun upon an honourable respect and worn as a memorable trophy of predeceased valour, and dare not avouch in your deeds any of your words? I have seen you gleeking for and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. You thought, because he could not speak English in the native garb, he could not therefore handle an English cudgel. You find it otherwise, and henceforth let a Welsh correction teach you a good English condition. 5 Fare ye well. Exit LH. Pissed, doth fortune play the huswife 6 with me now? Old I do wax, and from my weary limbs honour is cudgelled. To England will I steal, and patches will I get unto these scars, and swear I got them in the Gallia wars. Exit RH. Scene 2, Interior of the Cathedral AT Troyes in Champagne. Trumpets sound. Enter at one door UELH King Henry, Bedford, Gloucester, Exeter, Warwick, Westmoreland and other lords. At another UERH the French King, Queen Isabel, the Princess Catherine, 7 lords, ladies and c. the Duke of Burgundy and his train. The two parties, French and English, are divided by barriers. K. Hen, peace to this meeting wherefore we are met. 8. Unto our brother France, and to our sister, health and fair time of day, joy and good wishes. To our most fair and princely cousin Catherine, and as a branch and member of this royalty, by whom this great assembly is contrived, we do salute you, Duke of Burgundy, and princes French and peers, health to you all. All the French party bow to King Henry. Fr. King, right joyous are we to behold your face. Chapter 1000, Asked worthy brother England fairly met. So are you, princes English, every one. Q. Issa, R. of F. King, so happy be the issue, brother England, of this good day and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes which hitherto have borne in them against the French that met them in their bent, the fatal bowls of murdering basilisks. 9. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels into love. K. Hen, to cry amen to that thus we appear. Q. Issa, you English princes all I do salute you. All the English party bow to Queen Isabella. Bear my duty to you both on equal love. Great kings of France and England. Chapter 50, Et it not disgrace me. Chapter 1, F. I demand before this royal view, what rub or what impediment there is, why that the naked, poor and mangled peace. Chapter 500, Ear nurse of arts, plenties and joyful births, should not in this best garden of the world our fertile France put up her lovely visage. K. Hen, if Duke of Burgundy you would the peace which you have cited, you must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenors and particular effects you have enscheduled briefly in your hands. Fr. King, I have but with a cursory eye or glanked the articles, pleaseth your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more with better heed. To resurvey them we will suddenly pass our accept and peremptory answer. 10. K. Hen, brother we shall go, uncle Exeter, and brother Bedford, and you, brother Gloucester, Warwick and Huntingdon, go with the king. and take with you free power to ratify, augment or alter as your wisdom's best, shall see advantageable for our dignity, and will consign thereto. Barriers removed, the English lords Exeter, Bedford, Gloucester, Warwick and Huntingdon crossed to the King of France and exeunt afterwards with him. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes or stay here with us? Q. Issa, our gracious brother, I will go with them. Haply a woman's voice may do some good, when articles too nicely urged be stood on. K. Hen, yet leave our cousin Catharine here with us. She is our capital demand compressed within the fore rank of our articles. Q. Issa, she hath good leave. Trumpets sound. Exeunt all through gates, Ler and L, but Henry, Catharine and her gentlewomen. K. Hens, fair Catharine and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach us soldier terms, such as will enter at a lady's ear, and plead his love suit to her gentle heart? Cath, Votre Majesté shall mock at me, I cannot speak Votre Anglais. K. Hen, O fair Catharine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate? Cath, pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell that is like me. K. Hen, an angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel. Cath, quedit-il, quegi sois semblable aux anges. K. Hen, I said so, dear Catharine, and I must not blush to affirm it. Cath, O bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperies. K. Hen, what say you, fair one? Cath, dat de tongues of demands is be full of deceits. K. Hen, faith, Kate, I know no ways to mince it in love but directly to say, I love you, then if you urge me further than to say, do you in faith, I wear out my suit. Give me your answer, I faith do, and so clap hands in a bargain, how say you, lady? Cath, me understand well. K. Hen, Mary, if you would put me to verses or to dance for your sake, Kate, why you undid me. If I could win a lady at leap-frog, or by vaulting into my saddle with my armour on my back, under the correction of bragging, be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife. But before heaven I cannot look greenly 11 nor gasp out my eloquence, nor I have no cunning in protestation, only downright oaths, which I never use till urged, nor never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sun-burning, that never looks in his glass for love of anything he sees there, let thine eye be thy cook. I speak to thee, plain soldier, if thou canst love me for this, take me. If not, to say to thee that I shall die is true, but, for thy love, by the Lord, no, yet I love thee too. And while thou livest, dear Kate, take a fellow of plain and uncoined constancy. 12 for a good leg will fall, 13 a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white, a curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow, but a good heart. Kate is the sun and moon, or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and never changes but keeps his course truly. If thou would have such a one, take me, and take me, take a soldier, take a soldier, take a king. And what sayest thou then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly, I pray thee. Cath, est il possible dat I should love de ennemi de la France? K. Hen, no, it is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate, but in loving me you should love the friend of France, for I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine, and Kate, when France is mine and I am yours, then yours is France and you are mine. Cath, that is dat. K. Hen, Kate, dost thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me? Cath, I cannot tell. K. Hen, can any of your neighbours tell, Kate? I'll ask them. Come, I know thou lovest me, and at night when you come into your closet you'll question this gentlewoman about me, and I know, Kate, you will to her dispraise those parts in me that you love with your heart. If ever thou be'st mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me, thou shalt. Shall there not be a boy compounded between St. Denis and St. George, half French, half English, that shall go to Constantinople 14 and take the Turk by the beard? Shall he not? What sayest thou, my fair flower de luce? How answer you, la plus belle Catharine du monde, mon très chère divine dix? Cath, Votre Majesté, avez force French enough to deceive la plus sage demoiselle dat is en France? K. Hen, now fie upon my false French. By mine honour in true English I love thee, Kate, by which honour I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou dost, notwithstanding the poor and untempting 93 effect of my visage. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that ill layer-up of beauty, can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me, at the worst, and thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Catharine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart with the looks of an empress. Take me by the hand, and say, Harry of England, I am thine. Which word thou shalt no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud. England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine, who, though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music, and thy English broken. Therefore, Queen of all, Catharine, break thy mind to me in broken English, wilt thou have me? Cath, dat is as it shall please Le Roy Mon Peer. Hen, nay, it will please him well, Kate, it shall please him, Kate. Cath, den it shall also content me. Hen, upon that I will kiss your hand, and I call you my queen. Cath, laces, Monseigneur, laces, laces. Hen, then I will kiss your lips, Kate. Cath, dat is not be de fashion pour les dames de la France. Hen, O Kate, nice customs curtsy to great kings. We are the makers of manners, Kate, therefore, patiently and yielding, kisses her. You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate, there is more eloquence in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Trumpets sound, here comes your father. The centre gates are thrown open, and re-enter the French king and queen, Burgundy, Bedford, Gloucester, Exeter, Westmoreland, the other French and English lords as before, UER and L. Burr, my royal cousin, teach you our princess English. Hen, I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English. Burr, is she not apt? Hen, our tongue is rough, cars, and my condition is not smooth. 15 so that, having neither the voice nor the heart of flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her, that he will appear in his true likeness. Shall Kate be my wife? Fr. King, so please you. Exc. The king hath granted every article. His daughter first, and then in sequel all, according to their firm proposed natures. Fr. King take her fair son, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness. Chapter 1000, I cease their hatred and this dear conjunction, plant neighbourhood and Christian-like accord. Chapter 1, end their sweet bosoms that never war advance, his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France. Hen, now welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all, that here I take her as my sovereign queen. The king places a ring on Catharine's finger. Prepare we for our marriage, on which day. Chapter 1000, why Lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers, for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate, and you to me. And may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.